No one is trying to destroy you outright. If they wanted open conflict, they would have chosen force. Force is visible. Force is expensive. Force creates resistance. What they want is far more efficient. They want access. Access to your emotions. Access to your reactions. Access to your timing. Access to your inner balance. The real danger is not the strike. It is the observation that comes before it. Once you are observed, your behavior becomes data. Once behavior becomes data, it becomes predictable. And once you are predictable, your future decisions are no longer fully yours. The most dangerous enemy is not the one who attacks, but the one who watches without being noticed. Most people believe enemies act out of hatred. That belief blinds them. Hatred is emotional. Emotion is inefficient. Real enemies act out of calculation. They provoke not to fight, but to measure. They delay not because they hesitate, but to see how quickly you destabilize. They remain silent not because they are weak, but because they want to hear how loud your inner noise becomes when nothing happens. In strategic terms, every emotional response is a confession. It reveals position. It reveals vulnerability. It reveals points of leverage. Power is lost the moment you become readable, when your anger appears on schedule, when your explanations arrive on demand, when your emotional patterns repeat with reliability. At that point, you are no longer a threat. You are a map. Human beings are not ruled by force alone. They are ruled by expectation. When your opponent knows what you will do next, resistance becomes unnecessary. They simply guide you toward outcomes you believe you chose. This is why most people lose without ever realizing they were in a game. They believe reacting proves strength, that defending proves innocence, that speaking proves confidence. In reality, reaction places you inside another person's tempo. Defense accepts their frame. Speech gives them material. Authority does not belong to those who are easily interpreted. It belongs to those who remain difficult to read. Ambiguity is not confusion. Ambiguity is armor. This is not a motivational video. It is not about confidence or self-belief. This is about strategic invisibility, about removing emotional access so completely that your enemies are forced to operate without feedback. And when feedback disappears, certainty collapses. When certainty collapses, mistakes follow. Your enemy does not escalate because you threaten them. They escalate because they no longer understand you. Machiavellian strategy never seeks fairness or affection in power struggles. It seeks control of perception, distance from impulse, mastery over timing. Those who rush to clarify lose advantage. Those who crave resolution surrender leverage. The mind that demands to be understood is easy to govern. The mind that withholds becomes ungovernable. By the end of this video, you will not feel inspired. You will feel insulated. You will understand how enemies test emotional boundaries, how silence functions as pressure, how delay rewrites hierarchy, and why denying closure destabilizes even confident opponents. This is not about winning arguments. It is about becoming strategically unreachable. Before we continue, drop this in the comments. I am unreadable. Principle 1. Enemies seek emotional control, not direct conflict. Open conflict is costly. It exposes intent. It creates resistance. It invites consequences. Intelligent adversaries prefer influence over impact. Once they gain emotional access, opposition becomes unnecessary. They no longer fight you. They steer you. The first objective is never victory. It is permission. Permission to disturb your inner balance. Permission to affect your mood. Permission to shape your decisions indirectly. Provocation is the entry tool. A remark, a delay, a withdrawal, a gesture. Each is calibrated to test whether it can disrupt your internal order. The moment you respond emotionally, the door opens. From that moment forward, they are no longer guessing. They are adjusting. Hierarchy is not established through dominance alone. It is established through control of emotional flow. The individual who dictates emotional direction defines the structure of interaction. When you become irritated, defensive, rushed, or eager to correct misunderstandings, you are no longer acting freely. You are responding inside someone else's design. Provocation is not meant to insult. It is meant to extract information. Emotional spikes reveal pressure points. Calm moments reveal expectations. Sudden reactions expose attachment. From these signals, a behavioral map is formed. Once mapped, manipulation becomes efficient. There's no need for repeated pressure. The enemy simply presses where response is guaranteed. Emotional needs create obedience, the desire to be respected, to be understood, to be justified. When these needs become visible, they become leverage. Control is rarely loud. It operates through rhythm. Who speaks first? Who waits? Who rushes? Who explains? Who reacts? These micro-movements establish rank silently. The one who loses emotional balance first accepts a lower position without realizing it. Emotional discipline is not suppression. It is defense. When emotions remain inaccessible, leverage disappears. Without leverage, enemies are forced into visibility. They must escalate openly or withdraw. Both outcomes expose them. Comment below. My emotions are inaccessible. Principle 2. Refuse reaction to break leverage. Reaction is never neutral. The moment you react, you surrender initiative. Power belongs to the one who acts by choice, not impulse. Reaction places you inside a structure you did not design. It forces movement on terms decided before you realized a game existed. Once you react, you confirm relevance. You signal that something external has authority over your internal state. Every response carries information. Speed reveals urgency. Tone reveals priority. Words reveal intention. Silence after provocation signals strength. Speech reveals shape. The first to respond occupies the weaker position. This is not theory. It is structure. Leadership does not explain itself in real time. Authority does not rush to clarify. Urgent defense signals imbalance even when innocence exists. Balance is the foundation of command. Reaction equals exposure. Exposure creates access. Access enables control. When someone knows exactly how to trigger your response, they can pace you, exhaust you, redirect you. Refusal to react collapses this mechanism entirely. Without response, assumptions remain untested. Pressure floats without landing. This absence produces discomfort because control requires feedback. Without feedback, certainty erodes. The enemy begins to second-guess timing, meaning, and impact. Machiavellian power often appears passive. In reality, it is selective engagement. Reactionlessness is not indifference. It is discipline. When you do not respond, you are not avoiding conflict. You are forcing it to collapse under its own weight. Provocation requires participation. Without it, the provocateur is exposed. Non-response reverses psychological burden. Instead of you managing emotion, the enemy manages uncertainty. Silence becomes a mirror. They project motives, imagine strategies, fill gaps with fear. This internal noise leads to overreach. Overreach produces mistakes. Those deprived of clarity defeat themselves. Principle 3. Use silence as active psychological pressure. Silence is not emptiness. It is density without direction. What is undefined becomes feared. What is feared gains weight. Silence removes reference points. Speech resolves tension. Silence preserves it. When no signal is offered, the opposing mind turns inward. Pressure does not disappear. It multiplies. When you speak, you anchor interpretation. When you remain silent, interpretation spirals. Meaning is assigned based on insecurity, not intent. Silence functions as force because it denies orientation. Without orientation, timing collapses. Enemies hesitate, advance incorrectly, or withdraw too early. A visible enemy can be prepared for. An unreadable one cannot. Those who speak often respond. Those who speak last define reality. Those who remain silent entirely exit the frame. Silence prevents the transfer of authority. The human mind resists open loops. Silence creates one with no exit. Unresolved tension consumes attention. Questions repeat. Assumptions multiply. Silence compounds over time. It requires no reinforcement. Confusion becomes doubt. Doubt becomes anxiety. Anxiety leads to exposure. Strategic silence is positioning. Present without engagement. Visible without explanation. Attacks slide off. Pressure rebounds. Principle 4. Control time to control outcomes. Time is the most underestimated instrument of power. Whoever dictates tempo dictates behavior. Urgency is rarely natural. It is manufactured to compress judgment and force premature commitment. Those who accept imposed speed surrender control. Delay is not indecision. It is disruption. When response windows collapse, structure fails. Waiting transfers emotional weight. The individual comfortable waiting signals independence. The one demanding immediacy reveals need. Need creates vulnerability. Long pauses followed by brief action create imbalance. Measured response signals dominance regardless of content. Ignoring imposed timelines redefines stakes. Waiting gathers information without offering any. Early movement reveals little. Late movement reveals patterns. Those who rush must defend their choices. Defense drains power. Patience allows others to reveal themselves fully. Time asymmetry establishes hierarchy. Calm pacing signals command. Principle 5, break expectations. Enemies do not prepare for truth. They prepare for habit. Expectation is built on pattern, not reality. Once behavior is assumed, planning becomes comfortable. Comfort dulls alertness. Breaking expectation creates confusion. Confusion interrupts execution. Predictability invites exploitation. Consistency can camouflage, but when consistency becomes identity, it becomes a trap. Strategic deviation must be precise. At moments of peak pressure, deviation carries maximum impact. When assumption fails, hesitation follows. Hesitation fractures momentum. Expectation failure creates doubt. Doubt weakens future predictions. Manipulation depends on reliable cause and effect. Break that and influence collapses. Appear simple. Remain complex. Let enemies relax in false understanding. Then shift. Principle 6, deny closure. The human mind cannot tolerate unfinished narratives. Closure restores order. Denial preserves tension. Enemies often seek explanation more than victory. Explanation restores their sense of influence. Withholding it keeps the loop open. Anger burns quickly. Confusion does not. Closure elevates the listener. Denial removes relevance. The one who seeks closure is already beneath the one who denies it. One explanation destroys the effect. Denial must be complete. Unresolved situations create obsession. Obsession narrows perception. Narrowed perception leads to error. Clarity benefits the listener more than the speaker. Ambiguity sustains leverage. Principle 7, psychological untouchability. The highest form of power is not confrontation. It is separation. When influence fails entirely, dominance stabilizes. Provocation produces nothing. Delay has no effect. Escalation creates no movement. This stillness is not passive. It is resolved. The unmoved cannot be managed. Untouchability conserves energy. Others exhaust themselves reacting. Emotions exist, but they are private. Privacy is power. What cannot be accessed cannot be weaponized. True authority does not announce itself. It is recognized through consistency. When you exit the enemy's equation, they cannot win or lose against you. They become irrelevant. This is the highest victory. Not dominance through force, but freedom from manipulation. Power is not what you take. It is what cannot be taken from you. Drop this in the comments. I am untouchable. When influence ends, conflict ends. When conflict ends, freedom begins. Be untouchable. Be strategic. Be invisible.